check out this cool book.
Books are lame.
This one has pictures in it.
Pictures are for babies.
Wow, how about the Harry Potter series? This is exciting.
I already saw the movies, so what's the point?
Please, please, just read something. Anything.
What are you doing?
I don't know. She used to read everything, and now I can't get her to read anything.
Mom, I'm bored. I finished all the books in this section. What do I do next?
Well...
It's a good thing you're here.
Reading isn't for everybody, but whether they like it or not, your kids are going to have to read at some point in their lives.
But I don't wanna. Reading is lame.
Well, let's see if we can change that.
Good luck with that.
All right, step 1, have a good attitude. If your kids or you are overly negative about the library, you will get nowhere.
I don't have a bad attitude. Reading is just dumb.
Okay, while you may not be able to control their attitude all of the time, you can certainly control your own. If you treat the library as a chore or something that's horrible and just you have to do it, they're not going to want to go because they'll see that you think it's awful and in turn think that the library is awful in general.
Maybe I should just give up. Reading isn't that important.
It kind of is. Reading is a skill needed for almost everything in life. And it's important to develop a good vocabulary. It's not just helpful on the SATs, but it's helpful in life so that people will take you seriously. The words dumb and boring do not a sophisticated vocabulary make.
All books are dumb and boring.
If your child is resistant to reading, even the minimal for school, here are some tips to get them interested in. First, make sure your child is reading at the right level for them. Everyone is different, and your child may not dislike reading. They might just be having trouble and getting frustrated with what they're expected to be reading. Second, try and find a topic they are interested in. Schools aren't known for picking the most interesting books, and if this is all they have read, it might give them the idea that all books are boring. Third, join a book club with your child. If reading is more than just a grade, if it's viewed as a fun group activity, then they might be more willing to go and more willing to read new things. Fourth is that a common problem is that reading isn't seen as rewarding. It's just pages and books on a shelf. So an easy way to fix this is to make it a more rewarding thing. Have your child keep a log of all the books they read. And when they reach an important milestone, like reading 100 pages or 1,000 pages, reward them with a sticker. I'm not kidding, this will work 80% of the time. I have friends in high school who will study extra hard to get 100 on a test to get a sticker. For the other 20%, it could be a little bit more difficult. They're not as gullible and don't just want a sticker. For those, you might need to be more creative. Think about what your child likes and what they find rewarding. Giving them an ice cream cone every time they read a book is a little bit over the top, but judge what you think they'll need just to get them interesting. And once they get going, they'll probably think it's fun. Fifth is that another great outlet that's often overlooked is nonfiction. For some kids, learning that the Nile is the longest river in the world is what really piques their interest. If they don't care about dragons and things that are make-believe, they might be interested in facts and they're just not reading what's interesting to them. Finally, if your child is more of an active or competitive kind of person, then just reading a book in a corner by themselves isn't going to appeal to them. So try making it more interesting into like a scavenger hunt. Okay, we're going to play a game. You can only use new vocabulary you learned from books. No more boring, lame, or dumb.
But that's just boring and dumb and lame.
Check the reference section for a thesaurus.
Well, that's one problem almost kind of solved.
Well, we'll check back with her later, see how she's doing.
Time for my problem now?
Well, if you're having the opposite problem, your child has been reading so much you can't keep up, here are a few tips. First, even though they may think they're done with a section, they might have just finished a series or a genre they particularly like. Try and get an idea of what's going on. If they're just bored with the series or the genre, they might want to branch out into a different genre. If they finished all the Nancy Drew books, they may not know there's other mystery books out there. So they might not be bored, they just don't know where to look next. Second, If they do need to move from juvenile to young adult or young adult to the adult section, it takes, it's not a delicate transition, but it does take a little bit thinking. So here are some things to keep in mind. Think about how mature your child is. Some 7th graders are totally capable of reading Anne Frank's diary. Other kids can't handle it. So you have to judge whether your child is mature enough for the books that you think they should be reading. Second, sometimes it can be hard to tell if a book is good just by the summary if you open the cover and just read through it. And never judge a book by its cover. Always either read the summary, and if you can't tell if it's good or not, read the whole book. If you want to make sure what's right for your child is right for your child, make sure you know the topic well enough. Set boundaries with your child so when they're in the library looking for themselves, they know what they can take out and what they can't take out. But keep in mind that you are having them read so they can expand their minds. So they are growing up, and you don't want to restrict them too much. One last trick that I've learned is a bit unusual but effective. Ask old or current babysitters that you've been hiring. When I babysat, and I've been babysitting for years, I really get to know my kids, even though they're not technically my kids. I know what they like, what they dislike, and generally what their reading level is from helping them with their homework. So, I can usually recommend books that they're interested in. And not to mention, I was their age not too long ago. So, I can usually remember the books and series that I liked at their age, which makes me great for recommendations. So don't be afraid to ask. Here are some general tips. First, don't be afraid of recommending books that you liked when you were younger. I may not have liked every book my mom recommended for me, but most of them were keepers. And considering Don Quixote is hundreds of years old and still sold, there are books that are oldies but still goodies. Second, talk to your friends with kids. What are their kids reading? You might get some great suggestions. Third, try reading some of the books they like. It'll help you get an idea of what they like, and so you can recommend books better. Fourth, be prepared for rejection, and don't be afraid to try again. Reading can be a hit or miss affair, but it's worth pursuing. Fifth, start reading more around the house. If they see you reading and enjoying it, odds are they'll want to read too. And sixth, if you're stuck, don't be afraid to ask for help. Your librarians are a prime resource. It's their job to keep up with the newest books and who likes what.
This reading thing is bogus. The obnoxiousness of the entire scheme is so incredibly monotonous and repetitive. I need an activity that isn't so tedious. I wonder what other words I can find.